TGIF Warriors, how's everyone doing today? Hope everyone had a decent week. Good morning, Sinatra. Hi, Glenn, AJ. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. You're already at the pub.
Hey, TGIF, Dale, how are you?
Oh gosh, I'm okay, man. Kman, Mike, Patrick, Marcus. So coincidentally, we talked about key reversals before they happened yesterday.
We
There's
did. And you know what? And there's actually somebody
and your
else here.
wedge.
There's somebody else here that's going to want to say a few words today. And we actually have Steve here today. He's going to be
Oh
joining
wow.
us a little bit later. So just want to let you know.
Okay. So I mean, just quickly, there's NVDA. It would qualify. It didn't exactly close under there, but the semis did, and that's been the leading group. That's a key reversal out of the textbook. And just to give you an example of what happened last time we had a key was back here, and it did last for about, you know, 3 4 weeks to get about a 20% correction in semis. So we'll see if this has any legs to the downside. I'm not sure it's a high because of what it came off of, extremely overbought conditions, but you can't ignore the cable. I mean, the candle. So that's really the feature of yesterday, what happened in the semis. Uh, and the NASDAQ also had a key and was higher last night, but following through to the downside. S&P's, yeah, could call it a key. It wasn't as forceful, and VIX is trying to come out of here. So we'll see what happens as far as the dollar is concerned. So we have a mystery guest here. We'll see the dollar if the dollar is going to finally fade. It had a good week, but you know what? It did not strengthen USD CAD, and the strong dollar did not really weaken Aussie. So the commodity currencies are the standouts against a strong dollar this week. And take it away, Blake. You had a rising wedge. I want to see that. And Ryan last week before his vacation said him and Kay were looking to, short the S&Ps above 55, and we got to 55.16. Did you guys do it?
No, I shorted at 55 on that test Tuesday. I got knocked out of that, just a
Okay.
scout. So
Okay.
no, typical stop
Yeah,
run though.
bro.
Looks like.
Yeah, right. The market wrong the trade. It
Yeah,
happens. It
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Well,
So go
I
ahead.
morning Dale, morning everybody. I took off
Yeah.
but instead of selling S&P, I bought gold instead.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Gold. I mean, gold got through. We talked about getting through 40 yesterday. That's happened.
Mm-hmm.
So should see the highs tested here. Stiff dollar hasn't helped it. So if the dollar does reverse, it's
Yeah,
trying to right now. It shouldn't hurt the gold and
yeah,
silver.
and I'm
Go
also
ahead.
thinking, more on a on a broader scale. Twice we tested and went below 2300, and despite all the pushbacks on rate cuts, despite all the positiveness in positivity in equity markets, despite good risk and yields holding during that time, it just bounced, and I think it's just telling that I in the real short term, I don't think it's going to take a big miss on today's PMIs to send it through. The 2368 is the 50% of the setback from the highs down to 20, close to 2280. I don't think it's going to take too big a miss to take it through. And then more on the medium term, if we start to see things like just slowing down a bit, it looks like gold is one that people want to be in.
Yeah. Well, I know people that follow me probably know I'm going to be paying attention to it at new highs because it could end up, being a 3 drive. I know everyone has 2,700 targets, that this is a wave 4 and we should get a 5, but I'd be a little careful here, up here for a
Sure,
3
but
that comes in around.
by then that will be looking that will be looking pretty good. If I
Yeah,
can take $100, I'm going to take a bit.
yeah, you wouldn't mind taking it up there.
Yeah.
And silver looks like, even though it's down today, you look at silver, we've had, 2 drives. We had 1, 2, and, people talking 35 in silver. Gold silver ratio, I don't know. You tell me, does it have another corrective leg here, or are we just going to puke? But nice trade in gold.
It's
And
interesting how silver is stalling at what I would consider as flag resistance right now, and that was we tweeted about that yesterday. It's just knocking its head up against there, and gold is still powering higher. I think gold looks so much better right now.
yeah, so silver, I don't know. I have it coming out of that flag, but depends on the thickness of your line. So
That's what she said.
your line
Yellow card.
and copper's still under pressure, and yields still look soft. I thought we might be able to get back up to 433, but we're going well under 4%. We're going to take this 380 low out, I believe, in the weeks ahead. And maybe maybe the risk off is going to be part of it. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, go ahead. You have a special mystery guest. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, let's all welcome Steve. Let's make sure he's in the house. Steve, how are you? Well, maybe he's not here just yet. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see when he pops in. He might be just away from his desk really quick. But let's talk about a couple other things that are really important. A couple things that have happened overnight. Eurozone and UK PMIs. All I saw is a sea of red. So, is this the reason why we saw this continued sell-off in the euro and sterling overnight? Ryan, what do you think here? I mean, that's ugly.
Yeah, it was looking pretty ugly from the start. UK retail sales came in pretty good, although if you match it off against the prior month, which was shocking, it's a bit of a snapback. Doesn't mean that the UK consumer is suddenly opening the wallets up. And then we got a run of PMI data. We've been watching some green shoots over the last few months, and it seems we've hit summer, and those green shoots have shriveled up and died already, because it's pretty much went backwards in most of the in France and Germany. So yeah, it's definitely looking soggy over there. UK went backwards a tiny bit in the main services, and the euro and the pound have been under the cosh.
Can you expand a little bit on the UK retail sales? I mean, those were, pretty stellar numbers. I mean,
yeah.
What did it consist of?
I think it's a bit of build up because last month was so crap, and those got revised up a bit. It really was a bad month, bad weather. Get a little bit of sun. There's a bit of pent up demand, I think, where people didn't get out shopping in May, so they splurged out. In April, so they splurged out a bit in May. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that reversing a little bit in the next month's numbers. But they're good numbers, but cable only went up 20 pips or so, and then that was the end of it.
And then the PMIs obviously sank it. Kman, did you pull anything? Did you extract anything out of the Eurozone or UK PMIs that jumped out at you?
Well, the weaker Eurozone PMIs, as we were saying, we look at the data. We were looking at a month or two ago at the green shoots, and they've all wilted. So no, and summer is well, supposedly here in Europe. The levels of the Rhine River are not great in Germany either. So I don't think the German data are going to improve much at all. So I still think it's Europe is a bit of a dangerous place to be long.
Yeah, summer started yesterday, and I read it's the earliest solstice in over 220 years.
Yeah.
And you know, something I talked about last week is that I thought there could be a top between because of the solstice, because of OPEX, the quadruple witch that they could distribute this week. And you know, thank you, WD Gann.
And I also think it's because the Stop Oil protesters have painted Stonehenge in orange. That was a bit
tossers.
shocker.
Okay, well, I'd say that WD Gann even made more money, was more successful in the markets than you. Okay, so a lot of people know about him.
So let's talk about, like, you know, the euro and the risks that are associated with where we're going and where we're trading at. And I'm gonna call out real quick, Steve. Are you here this morning? Let me see. Sometimes he's like,
yes, I am.
oh, hey, all right. We called on you a little earlier, and
yeah, sorry, I was on a call. That's why I wrote you. I wasn't sure if you called me, but you know, I was in a call. I'm now out of it.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to come back to you here in just a second. So I just want to make sure you're around. Okay. So we got the euro that's closing in on this really critical support. We've got, you know, the dollar index that obviously is, you know, inverse of this, and we're approaching, you know, really big triangle resistance. And all we need today, if you think about this, is just some strong US PMIs that come out in just a few hours, or a couple hours actually, and then we're going to be probing the top of this. I'm wondering that you know, the path of least resistance for the euro is lower, especially ahead of these French elections. You know, there's a lot of different outcomes that we could have, and I'm going to bring in Steve in a moment just to talk about some of the the political risks that surround Europe. But you know, you got the euro that's really going to be probing some pretty key levels. And I'm, you know, one of the things that we've discussed here over the last few days is, and I'm going to get some thoughts from Ryan and Kman regarding this as well, is can the Eurozone and can the euro, or let's just talk about like French spreads, I guess. Can France have like the Liz Truss moment where we saw the sterling really capitulate, you know, right there? And you know, that was when she proposed her budget, and then, you know, gilts got crushed, and you know, you saw this move in sterling, and we actually capitulated right into Asia during the week, during a very illiquid period, and then reversed since then. Can we get that moment in the Eurozone? So let me start with Steve. So Steve, what are your thoughts about you know, the Eurozone political environment right now?
We talked about this the day after the elections for the people that follow our subscriber webinars. It was, you know, definitely a game changer because it introduces again uncertainty, right? For the time being, this seems to be affecting mostly European equities. US equities seem to be unfazed. But depending on how the situation unfolds, I think we might get some spillover there as well, because, you know, I mean, we are in a globalized environment, right? And, you know, the two sides of the Atlantic can end up affecting one another. For the time being, the US is not affected by that because it's not directly affecting it, but and don't forget that we are in a general risk-on environment, so people are like, it's okay, I was piling in US equities anyhow, so I might as well keep on doing that. Having to do with the euro and downside risks, I 100% agree. I think even technically the euro is near the triangle you're showing at the moment, and technically a breakdown from this, which we're not far away from, is going to be a big development. opening up even more upside for the DXY, because obviously we know that 58% of the DXY is euro, and if you add to the euro other currencies that are so tightly correlated with it, then we get above like 65, 67%, which means that whatever the euro does, the DXY is more or less going to do the opposite.
Yeah, and it does look vulnerable. I mean, if we start getting below 105, I mean, we get much below 105, and there's got to be a lot of selling to be done down there. Now,
and by the way, the spillover of this was initially extremely obvious in the CAC 40, right? The French equities.
Yep.
But even the DXY has been, exactly. We have the completion of this double top that you're showing there, but just look at the rebound we've had. If you ask me, this is more likely a flag or a pennant or something like that. That's more likely to be resolved in the days ahead lower. And the situation with the DAX is not that much different. I mean, yes, obviously the reaction of the DAX lower was not as extreme as the one we had in French equities. Nevertheless, the DAX was looking really, really healthy on the way it was pulling back until we got the European elections. And then we broke down. And this last week's rebound also looks to me corrective. So even in the DAX, we seem more likely to have, at least in the short term, more downside than anything else. And, you can add to the mix like the IBEX and other Eurozone equities. So for the time being, this seems to be contained in Eurozone countries mostly. But I think there is definitely the potential for this to spread even further.
So thank you, Steve, for your comments here. And it seems like a political theme, as it is not just in Europe and the Eurozone, it's global. You're seeing the pendulum swing quite aggressively. So let me start with Kman. Kman, what are your thoughts of maybe French spreads giving us a little bit of a Liz Truss type of moment? What are you thinking about?
I don't think it's going to be that violent, just because of the size of the Eurozone compared to what Liz Truss and I don't recall his Boateng something did at the time. It's not such a shock event. We knew that something could be brewing, but I do think it could have like quite a sizable effect, as I've been saying. I mean, I can't buy euros, and the problem is that whatever happens in France, whether it's far right or the left coalition, it's not going to be taken very good. And add to that in the second half of this year we have a few regional eastern side of German elections, I think, as well. I still think the euro is in danger in some or the other form. I can't buy it, that's for sure. And then add a bit of those weaker data, and I think it's pretty clear now. The problem to do specifically euro dollar is the dollar side of the things, because we know that the size of the market in the US is bigger. So if the dollar would start to turn around, then I would rather be short euro crosses than being outright short euro dollar. But if the US data hold up, I think euro dollar can go down. And as Steve said, this rebalancing thing has also been going on, right? You get out of the CAC, you get out of some DAX, and you park it in the S&P or whatever else market, and that's something that we need to pay attention to as well. If you get weaker US data, then all of a sudden we could snowball in something more dramatic.
All right, and you can even see today, and this is just the yes, you can see how the French spreads are starting to widen here, and I agree. Not buying the euro seems like the logical trade, and you can see it, as you pointed out, in the euro crosses. The euro Aussie, Looks like we've got further to go at this point, and the Euro Kiwi looks on the verge of breaking down, and obviously the Euro Sterling's in breakdown territory, and I've had orders all week sitting here trying to sell any move to 85 pence, and it's not getting tripped. And even the Euro Mex is coming down to the 38% retracement. We're not very far away, so even that's coming down. So the Euro definitely looks heavy. Brian, let me hear your view on all this really quick on the Eurozone situation. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think it's good. What the market's looking for basically is, if Le Pen gets in, is she going to be all Frexit and all really hardline, or is she going to water it down? That it's at that moment that the market will either have a wobble or it won't. So that's the big risk. We won't see a move like we saw in the UK, I don't think, because they've got enough tools in there to step in and keep things propped up or reverse things pretty quickly. What does make me laugh is the spreads blowing out between France and Germany, Italy, Germany, because Germany isn't exactly the safest place either at the moment to park your money. It's not as if their economy is going gangbusters. So it's a bit of a out of the frying pan into the fire sort of move. So it's a bit strange from that perspective. But yeah, as I said, the election, it's got to be clear. If Le Pen gets in, is she going to be hardline right, or is she going to be a bit like Meloni in Italy and, talk tough but act weaker?
Right. Well, I think that it is going to be a story that is going to be front and center for the next couple of weeks. Speaking of which, that's not today. Today is triple witching today. So how are you, Brian, since I've got you here? Any thoughts on options expiration today and the volatility that might ensue?
Yeah, it's probably going to be the usual mess. It could see stocks going down, then all the doves are going to come out, all the bearish mob are going to come out saying, yeah, top's in, everyone pile into shorts, and then they'll probably get taken to the cleaners on Monday. So it's one of those times you just got to let the price action do the talking. Know where the resistance is. S&Ps, we got through 55, then we're back below it. That's your near-term marker. And then you got a few short-term levels, just under it. I'll just check my levels quickly on my chart. So
I have 5380, which is really, probably pretty key level support. And we're sitting on some support right now at this 4670 level.
Yeah, there's a little bit here, 40, 44, 48, that sort of area. So short-term support and, 5390 just below the 54 figure. So, yeah, it's just about drawing them lines and seeing what they want to do.
Right. It's pretty well behaved as far as technically the market's got a couple of ascending channels that we're dealing with. And let me cue into the first way I just described those. They're ascending channels, so that means they're bullish. We might break one, but we have another one, below, not too far away. So, still in a very bullish market, but we could see a little bit of correction. But I want to talk.
It's the biggest option expiry ever, by the way. $5.1 trillion worth of expiries today.
That is a big number. So could bring out the volatility. And I'm going to reiterate, if you came in a little bit late, on how important this is. And I'm going to, before the show started, I was in the chat room, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows how big of a deal this key reversal in NVIDIA is. I think it's a big one. Dale mentioned it as soon as we started the show, and I actually had the semiconductor index also this morning in the chat room mentioning it too, as we were approaching the 161% extension. Those are some pretty big reversals, and I believe that we need to pay attention to them just because they have been the driver. But as I was saying yesterday, especially in the ForexAnalytix chat room, you got to be real careful about the market, because as of right now, we're just seeing rotation. Some of the leadership goes. The Dow was bid all day today, or yesterday. Now, Dow futures are actually coming under some pressure right now as we speak. Matter of fact, we're at you can see in the 15-minute chart, we're actually trading at the lows right now. But it's pre-market activity, so don't get too worked up. But what I'm trying to say is, today is all going to be about option expiration, watch the leadership, and then also watch for rotation, because yesterday, one of the things that really had my attention as well, which is like one of those canaries in the coal mine. Yeah, you had the dollar was firm, but so was gold. You know what I mean? And the bond market wasn't giving up much gain. So you should be keeping an eye on a few different things. What's happening in the bond market. Does the 10-year break out? And this is something that Dale was just mentioning, and I'm going to have to reiterate, because this is the chart of the day from a couple of days ago. Watch the bond market. People are positioned very short. And people been arguing that there's not going to be any buyers in the bond market for all sorts of reasons. But the bond market's catching a bid. Gold looks stronger. The dollar's firm. Usually these are signs of risk aversion. So let's see if we get rotation. But these reversals are pretty big, as Dale mentioned when we first started. And I think it's worth noting, especially how some of these weekly charts close out the week. Dale, do you have any more thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm thinking about you talking about rotation. The reason that happens all the time is they've made it illegal to go to cash. So you have to go and buy other stocks. Just kidding. But it seems like you'll be put in the penalty box if
Yeah,
you don't
get a red
rotate.
card. You get a
Yeah.
red card.
Yeah, you do. It's a penalty for going into cash.
Kman's going to start throwing red cards out all over the place.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's at least a correction. The only thing that bothers me is where we were on RSI before the key. So, but we could have, you never know if something's going to be a major top until a lot of time passes and you have more evidence. It could end up being an important high, but the one in March was, still a good trade. It was 20% in the, and that also happened on, this happened on the solstice. That happened on the equinox. So, if, it may seem like it's crazy and ridiculous to pay attention to the change of seasons, but I've cited a few examples that markets, they can change with the seasons. And, just a rhythm of the universe created by a mathematician.
So Steve's going to be joining us more often here on the F.A.C.E show. And before I start looking at this Canadian a little closer and give some thoughts here, because we got about less than 2 minutes before the data comes out. Steve, any final thoughts before we see you back on the morning edge in 45 minutes? He might have disappeared already.
He made me the host, so he must have left.
Oh, so he jammed out already. All right, so real quick, Canadian.
Blake, just a quick question. Michael asked an important question. What time do the options expire? It's 12 o'clock Eastern, isn't it? ET.
Yeah, which is and that is an hour after the fix. The
3.5 hours from now, sort of thing.
Yeah. And
too much bearishness in euro. Too much bearishness. What's the DSI on euro?
58. It's moderate.
Okay, that's no big deal.
I'm waiting for minus 12, Dale, to buy it.
Okay.
Real quick, I just want to talk a little bit about the Canadian, and this has been my hesitation with the Canadian. I know I've vocalized this quite a bit. This is one of the reasons why I'm so neutral, is that if you look at CFTC data, the market is most aggressively short Canadian dollars in the history of CFTC data. So that means that speculators, large speculators and institutions are expecting, a move basically above 140 in the dollar CAD. That, just to sum it up real quick. I could see that, and I agree with that. I just don't know if the masses are right now. So positioning's kind of, skewed in my opinion. And you saw what the Euro CAD and the Sterling CAD did yesterday. They just got demolished. I'm would really love to buy the dollar CAD somewhere down here versus up here, but that doesn't mean that's going to happen. It doesn't mean we're going to get an opportunity like that. But we are at a 618 retracement. You can see horizontal support, 618 retracement of the last move up. So this Canadian data is probably going to matter to, well, it's retail sales. I don't know how much it'll matter, but we'll find out. Anyway, here's your data flash.
It's
I'm pulling
out.
that up. Right. Oh, the data just came out.
Oh, I thought I saw it.
In line, a little bit
Yeah.
better on the core. And let's see, did we get much of a reaction? Just a little blip, little blip lower on that strong Canadian core retail sales, but now we're reversing again. So I don't know. I guess if you wanted to buy the dollar CAD, you know exactly where your risk is, and that's below today's lows. I mean, you know, I guess it's pretty simple. Not something that I'm going to be participating in. Hey, you don't have an interview
that
today.
positioning, Blake,
Yep.
about how heavily they are, that also could bring in heavy liquidation on a breakdown. That those people, if they're wrong-footed, it actually adds fuel to a decline in USD CAD if we break down.
100% agree with that, but here's the big rub, right, for me, is that you look at the dollar index, and the dollar index, I mean, it does look like it's, I mean, you know, obviously as you get close to a key resistance level, like in this case, you have to be prepared and start, you know, the talk on can the dollar actually break out. We all know the reasons why the dollar could break out. You know, you start looking at what's happening in Europe, and you know, if US PMIs come in better, and you know, you start getting that US exceptionalism story gaining strength again. Yeah, next thing you know, you got the dollar index breaking out. So can you get a breakdown in the dollar CAD while the dollar index as a whole is breaking out? Well, maybe, but it's going to be real difficult, you know. So this is where the conflict for me really is, you know, and then that's kind of how I feel. But anyway, you don't have an interview right now. Let's get some final thoughts before the weekend from the team before we wrap things up. So Ryan, here we are, end of the week, options expiration, final thoughts, things you're looking to trade. What are you looking to do on any type of, you know, crazy spikes today? Any thoughts here?
Yeah, just looking to play the ranges. You know, maybe I'll give Cable a little nibble down at 126. Other than that, yeah, I've not really got a feeling of anything. I'm still managing stuff. I've got a bit of Kiwi long still off of the big figure that's holding up well. Just keep an eye on the dollar rand to see if that's about to take my stop out, because that's looking a little bit wobbly under 18 again. So yeah, just managing the trades.
Yeah, a lot of managing. All right, Kman, any final thoughts for the week?
For the week, I still think that euro is to remain a bit weak overall, but choose your currency wisely. So I still think that antipodians may be a decent choice. Why not Canadian dollar, perhaps? We forgot to mention that Scheinbaum nominated the new economy minister in Mexico. Did we? And I think that's the reason why the Mexican peso is doing slightly better right now, because he is and used to be a bit more business friendly. So I think she's trying to play on the investors to before doing any major adjustments. So that's doing the mix a bit better. And then I'm small long, but I'm starting to think that perhaps long gold is maybe start to get better for the longer term term play as well. I'll monitor those US data very closely.
Yeah, and you know, gold, you know, I mean, looks like we have some room to go. I think, you know, 2400 is not unachievable here. And as you guys were talking about earlier this morning, I was just making sure that something did happen, which it did happen. Let me just go over to gold really quick. We broke that descending channel here, so I think you pointed it out, Kman, we're about at the 50% retracement of this entire move.
Yeah.
It does look like this is pretty doable here.
It is,
I would
yeah,
say.
but I also think globally we had those earlier this year. We had those occasions to get below 2300 for pretty decent reasons, and it rebounded each time. And so I even think for the more medium term, it could be one to look at, perhaps even for the second half of this year. It is just a thought that I'm starting to have.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to go to Dale. I mean, you look at gold, and I mean, longer term. We can zoom out. I mean, this is a hell of a rally, and all we're really doing is pausing at the highs. There hasn't been, there was a potential for a double top, couldn't even get below 2300. It's still just consolidating at the highs, and you think about that in a very bullish trend that and trading at all-time highs. I mean, that doesn't look bearish. So I think gold could I'm with you. I think it could surge higher, and then you got silver probably looks like it's going to follow suit. So thanks for your thoughts, Kman. Dale, what are you thinking as we go into the end of the week here?
Well, I think we got a pretty good signal in the semis and NASDAQ, and there's at least a siesta coming there. Canada is much closer to breaking down than breaking out like it was a week or so ago. And that's in the face of a stiff, resilient dollar. It's not giving people a chance to buy Aussie cheaper, even though the market sold off. And I'm very impressed with commodity currency action here.
Yeah, I
With
mean,
what's been
you
going
look
on.
at this Aussie, and I know we've been just kind of nestled up against this long-term trend line, and but Aussie pullbacks have been fairly shallow. But then
Yeah.
again, so is the stock market.
Well,
So
yeah. Yeah, I
there's
mean, it
that.
was just one day in the stock market, and the reason, unless we have a real bad down day, is we may have had a key reversal on a daily, but on the weekly charts, we're still, maybe unchanged on the week. It's not going to be a key reversal on the weekly. That would have sealed it, but it's at least a reason for the market to pause.
Yeah, I mean, this has been one hell of a rally, and I'm gonna leave us with this. Again, it's all about rotation, rotation, rotation.
Yeah.
So if stocks come down, don't get so infatuated with a single name. Whether it's NVIDIA or it's Microsoft or it's Apple, don't be infatuated with that. Look at the indices. If
Yeah.
the S&P is down, NASDAQ's down, is the Russell, being supported?
It's the
Is the
second
Dow
week in
being
the row,
supported?
that bonds have outperformed equities. So take it for what it is. Bonds look good. I think yields are going to crash
Yeah, well,
the
if
next few
yields come
months.
down, why are they coming down? And
Yeah, that's right.
what is the response to that? A lot of good nuggets
Yeah.
here, guys. And
Yeah.
remember for more, we're gonna have the Morning Edge starts in about 30 minutes from now, and I'll see you there with Steve. He'll be back on the Morning Edge, and Steve's gonna be joining us here on the F.A.C.E show a couple of times a week because believe it or not, I don't think macro has mattered at all for the last year and a half, but I think it's going to come into play like a ton of bricks in the pun intended.
So Jean-Francois Boucher says it was an amazing week. And if any of you guys had an amazing week, peel off a little something to become part of the community and make it an amazing summer.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks, Dale, and thanks, Ryan and Kman. And you guys make sure you're joining Ryan and Kman on the Flow Show every day. You can access their show right through ForexAnalytix.com. You can go to the webinars page, and right there. And what time is that, Ryan?
10:30 UK time.
10:30 a.m. UK time. So make sure you guys are joining Ryan and Kman there every day. They get you briefed and up to speed. I'm very fortunate that I jump in the ForexAnalytix chat room and circle back and see what these guys were talking about while I was asleep. It's very easy to get caught up on the trading days. So make sure you guys are doing the same. So thank you, team, and appreciate you, Dale, for
Thanks, Blake.
guiding us every day.
Yeah, you know, another great week by the Dream Team. So stay in tune in June because we're going to fly in July. So be part of that airplane trip we're going to take in July. It's going to be not a slow month in July, and probably not even in August. So have the right sounding board and intelligence gathering that you can accomplish at ForexAnalytix in their chat rooms. I'm telling you guys, it's a good investment in yourself. Better investment in yourself than it is for us to be making like a fortune off you. Okay, because we're not. Anyway, that's a wrap. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And what a great week that the guys put in. And we laid it out on the court, and you guys know us. We've been doing it for over 7 years. So what do you think is going to happen next week? You're right. The same. We're going to give you our best because we're not going to waste your time or our breath. Adios, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thank you, team. Thank you, Kman. I'll see you at Stonehenge later on, and we'll do some dances around around the monoliths and see if we can generate some luck.
I'll show you where you can get in for free.
And Ryan, tip a few for me this weekend. All right, buddy?
We'll do, mate. We'll do.
All right. So everyone enjoy your weekend. Do your homework over the weekend. A good way to do your homework is join and go over what Greg is saying after this week and what Andre's saying after these weeks, and have some patterns to come into next week with so that you can execute, not analyze. That's it. That's the end of my homily. Adios, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Lowell. See you guys.